Yeah, well, look, thank you for coming along. If you will have heard my speech, I think ACT has overcome some pretty tough odds to be here today. This is not any kind of end, it's just another rest before we keep climbing. But I think the grit that it's required to overcome some pretty tough odds in our history is actually exactly the sort of attitude New Zealand needs to overcome some issues it faces at the moment. And so we're very proud to be here, and we're going to keep working even harder.
Celebration today? I mean, is that how it feels?
Some people say it's a celebration. I wanted to do this event to thank these people around me. There were some people who couldn't be there today, many who were, who have done an awful lot, reached into their time, reached into their pocket, advocated for us with their friends. These MPs really had their lives transformed by having to travel to Wellington. So, I wanted to thank all of the people and just acknowledge people at this point. I think it's important to have a culture of appreciation, which one of our oldest supporters has always encouraged.
You were brutally honest about the ups and the downs, quite a lot of the downs.
Yeah.
Why was that important to you today?
Look, I think people want more honesty in politics. Yeah, we've had a pretty tough run in a lot of ways, but we've shown it's not where you are, it's what you're doing to make a difference that matters. And we now are in a place that is quite good, but the challenges are immense, and so we're going to continue to use that grip.
Do you regret the twerking? Did that make a difference?
Well, the thing about Dancing with the Stars is that, I was there for 9 weeks because I was leading the show in terms of the narrative and the attention. And every week I had to do something that would keep me in the forefront of people's minds, but also not ruin any future chance of a political career. The twerking was probably right on the line as far as that went.
Mr. Seymour, what's the first matter of business when you get into Wellington?
We have Cabinet on Tuesday, so we don't discuss what's on the Cabinet agenda, but you can probably guess from ACT's point of view, we want to be a constructive part of the government, less tax, less regulation, more freedom, and most of what we're doing is in that theme.
And where to from here? Are you looking towards the next election now?
Yeah, we're always thinking about being accountable to the people at the next election, and so we need to show that ACT is a capable part of government. We can occupy high positions in the government hierarchy and be a reliable voice, but also continue to advocate those values that each person can make a difference in their own life, and that each of us is sacred as individuals and should have that freedom to do so.
There was a soft push for cash today. I mean, is that always on the radar?
Well, the truth is, our entire democracy is funded by private donations. It's illegal to use government money for an election, and so it should be. Therefore, we, like all political parties, ask our supporters to say, look, you are effectively subsidising democracy for the rest of New Zealand, but if that group of New Zealanders who donate to politics didn't do so, we couldn't have the elections we do.
You said, you said that the judges said that you proved that everyone could dance.
Yeah.
In your heart, do you believe that about yourself?
Yeah.
Down in your heart, do you actually believe you could dance?
Yeah, they said that at the one where I actually did well. There was just the one dance, which was the Viennese waltz, and I really wish you guys would put that one on the news more often, because it was actually quite touching.
Do you believe it?
I believe it in the case of the Viennese waltz. I proved it, and even the judges said so.
As a
after weeks of disappointment.
As a metaphor for New Zealand, though, do you believe everyone can dance, or do you believe that there's a hierarchy there?
No, I believe anyone can dance. So often I hear these stories of helplessness. What's the government going to do? It needs to spend more taxes. Often, the way to build a winning society where people can actually overcome the problems they face is to believe that everyone can help themselves, probably more than they currently are.
You say you're at base camp, so what is the peak of Everest for you? What would that be? What's in your head?
It's a multiple term government with ACT at the centre of it, making the changes that New Zealand needs to pull up from its current slump. It's getting more reform around red tape and regulation, saving a lot more cash for the taxpayer, making our budgets balanced and sustainable. Ultimately, making New Zealand a place that is sustainable and is attracting more people than it's losing.
Do you ever sort of look at what's happening in the UK, where reform, the slightly further to the right party, has actually effectively taken over from the Conservatives, are you thinking ACT could be that party?
Well, where we poll is up to the voters. What's up to us is the policies we offer. And our view is that this is a country of pioneers. People have chosen to come to these islands for 800 years. And if you have a pioneering spirit, then we are your party.
But as an adjunct to a national party in the centre, or as a party that actually could govern as the biggest party?
Well, when you show up to practice, you've got to play whatever position the coach says. And if the voters want us to play that role, yep, we'll play. If the voters want us to play a different role, we'll play that.
Do you ever talk to Nigel Farage, though? I mean, do you ever say to him, you know, what was your secret there to getting up right up there in the 20s, 30s in the polls?
Well, I've never met Nigel Farage, but he would be a very interesting person to meet, like a lot of politicians around the world. Maybe someday I will. But to be honest, while I look at the disruption that's happened in the UK, it's easy for politicians to start kind of cosplaying, we're going to be this or that. The reality is, our job is to hear the concerns and hopes of New Zealanders and represent them. Right now, people are very worried about the economy, they're very worried about the identity politics, they want that pioneering spirit of a country people have come to for 800 years to build a better life, to be better reflected in our policies. They want to overcome the really suffocating sense of helplessness that often pervades government discourse and show that actually everyone can dance.
Deputy Prime Minister, will you have to tone back anything about who you are or the way you do politics, being the Deputy Prime Minister? It does come with some status, some mana. Do you expect to change anything?
Look, I'm always changing. You can't stand still, you have to keep growing. And I hope that people in 18 months' time will say, wow, that guy actually did take it seriously and get better. So yeah, you've got to. I mean, I'm much better at my job than I was 10 years ago. If I wasn't, that would be a failure. And that's what all people should aim to do.
Mr. Seymour, sorry. Yeah. Talking about obviously you spoke about one hell of a climb for the party, one hell of a climb for yourself. Can you cast it back even further? Let's say a very young David, as a boy, did you see yourself standing here today as Deputy Prime Minister?
No, it's not something. When I was a boy, I wanted to be an astronaut, so in a sense this is a bit of a disappointment, but most people's childhood dreams are like that.
Was he you when you told that great story yesterday at Fundraising, remember?
Yeah.
When he said you're going to be the deputy, did you take it as a diss, or did you, or was it something behind your neck, do you think?
Chris is a really sincere guy, and he meant it sincerely. I'm 99.9% certain. And Chris was very kind to me in those days. He was one of the people who would take someone under their wing. Not everyone in politics is like that. Yeah.
There are I'm just getting back to my points about the right-wing parties around the world that are doing so incredibly well in the polls. I mean, they're rising. Is there a figure that you've got in mind about where you might end up as a percentage? Because I mean, MMP is all about the percentages, isn't it?
So at our conference last year, we pointed out that about 22% of New Zealanders describe themselves as likely to vote ACT. Usually you can get about half of the people who say they're likely actually vote for a party like ACT. Our goal is to get 2/3 of likely voters, which would take us to 15%. That was the goal we set out last July, and it remains our goal. Yeah.
Any regrets that Winston Peters wasn't here for any sort of handover officially? You know, he's out of the country.
Oh no! Look, I mean, he loves being foreign minister, and I'm happy for him being overseas. Obviously, I'm always eager to get tips and advice from anyone. So far, I've figured I'm going to have to comb my hair more, but I'm not going all the way to blow wave.
Do you guys get on? Do you talk a bit now? Yeah,
we do. Look, I mean, we're two boys from the north with Māori whakapapa and a view of the world that each person should be equal. Obviously, in a lot of ways, we're quite different too, but we're working together in this government because we recognise the voters put us both there to solve some problems. All right, thank you very much, team. Appreciate all your time. Thank you, team. We'll catch you later. Cheers.